Just over 5 months ago, I did a review on one very outstanding IEM from Kefine. You might have seen my video on it, which was Kefine DELCI. At that point of time, I even declared that Kefine DELCI was one of the king of budget IEM for anything under $100. And from that point onward, the competition got really tough, especially in the IEM market for under $100. Kefine decided that they need to re-enter the market, but instead of going with new IEM, they decided to use the very same successful proven formula. So they opted to revamp the very same Kefine DELCI in conjunction with collaboration with Angelears. We have now Kefine DELCI AE. Price at $89 if you opted for the 3.5mm single-ended termination, or slightly higher at over $90. You can get the 4.4mm balance. Now that's one of the first changes included with this Delci AE. You're also gonna get pretty much identical almost in many ways with the chassis itself, the IEM itself, the build itself, with a slightly different color. Now it comes in pretty much something I would say described as silver. And inside you're gonna find the very same 10mm dynamic driver, which is rated at 28 ohm and 108 dB of sensitivity. Because the build is pretty much identical to the original Delci, you can expect excellent build, which also means that it is also very comfortable despite being made of metal. And as you can see here, I was able to wear it like this for over 2 hours in fact. And I'd just like to bring up one thing. Just like the original Delci, this AE does not offer the kind of seal which I would consider as good. I am now in a surrounding area which contains a lot of sound from the forest itself. And I am hearing ambient sound leaking in because I'm not playing any music at the moment. So if you expect something which is sealing good, this Delci AE does not improve on that element. Driving this Delci AE is simple, pretty much similar to the original Delci because of that 28 ohm and also 108 dB of sensitivity. So I was able to drive it properly even when attached to my phone here, which is Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV here, directly from the 3.5mm single-ended, and I needed only at 70 out of 100 of volume to achieve a proper listening level, and the sound output itself I would definitely say satisfying, musical and engaging, definitely usable. However, it is always best to scale it up because just like the original Delci, this Delci AE also scales really well with improved resources or even power. For example, I have played it most of the time using my iBasso DX260 here from the 4.4mm balance, and also this Onyx Alpha here, and also this dongle of mine which is iBasso DC07 Pro, and even from the 3.5mm single-ended termination of this Venture Electronic Odo. The kind of sound which I am hearing is that something which I would consider as versatile because it reflects the kind of improvement as the resource or the source goes better and better, so does the output. It goes from better to better. One of the major differences comparing this Delci AE here with the original Delci is that now this Delci AE comes with tunable nozzle. So when I talk about sound for this Delci AE, it depends on which nozzle you are using. For example, it is pretty much similar to some other competition in the market right now, which is namely SIMGOT EA series, EA500, EA500LM, or even EA1000, and even HIDIS MP145. So Delci decided that, or should I say Kefine decided that the Delci AE will now offer the same kind of flexibility of being able to tune for different kind of sound. So it comes with this silver nozzle, which is the stock one. And when I use that, I would just simply describe that. Let's just talk about just go straight to the point, cut the chase. Comparing it with the original Delci, I can just simply say that this Delci AE now sounded brighter. Okay, it is offering a bit more of resolution, a bit more of transparency, and a bit more of sparkle and energy in the upper frequency with that silver nozzle. And it remains pretty much the same with the overall tuning itself, which is kind of a bit slightly Harman-ish, but not so Harman. And it focuses a lot on sub-bass rather than the mid-bass. So you get still pretty much similar to the original Delci, a bassy kind of IEM, which is hovering closer towards V sound curve now rather than Harman, because of that emphasis on the upper frequency. The mid-range remains the same. I repeat, if you use silver nozzle on this Delci AE, it will offer you a bit more of transparency, resolution, imaging, and sparkle in the upper frequency, anywhere from upper mid-range all the way to the topmost of treble decay. When you switch to the nozzle, the other nozzle, which is the gold color type, then it resembles a lot actually to the original Delci, meaning that it kind of like, dampen down the upper frequency. So you're gonna get similar kind of energy and sparkle from the upper frequency, but you're gonna hear a bit more of detail as well, macro detail. And the effect that I am hearing as well is that the sound kind of a bit cave in a bit slightly. So it focuses a bit more on the mid-range. So you're gonna get something which is a bit more frontal with the mid-range, and it gets slightly warmer as well, just like the original Delci. So depending on which nozzle that you want, also depending on your preference, you might want to stick to silver nozzle if resolution, technicalities is your priority. But if you want something which is more musical, warmer sounding, very much similar to the original Delci, then you might want to stick to the gold nozzle. As it is, the competition for IEMs under $100 is super fierce nowadays, especially that price point. Because the last 3 months, I have been seeing so many amazing IEM being released into the market almost on weekly basis. And each of them seems to be like really amazing in their own way. So the same can be said for this Delci AE, no doubt about it, but it is no longer alone in that particular segment, being excellent, being amazing, because there are just so many other competition. But let's just quickly have a look. How does it compare with some of the competition? I would not be able to talk about that much, obviously, but then I just try to give you an idea. How does it compare? I have already touched the comparison, alright, of this Delci AE with the original Delci, and I'm just gonna simply say it is definitely a bit more flexible now of an IEM, which is already amazing. Just in case that why you want to have this Delci AE is that perhaps you need a bit more of brightness in the upper frequency, you need a bit more of technicality, you need a bit more of speed with the transient itself. So definitely Delci AE is something which you can consider, especially if you already love the original sound signature of Kefine DELCI. And because of that tunable nozzle, it is also pretty much very similar to SIMGOT series of EA, which I already mentioned earlier. And we are talking about something like SIMGOT EA 500 LM, or even EA 1000, and a few other IEM in the market which offer tuning nozzle. And in fact, this Delci AE now is pretty much very similar to EA 500 LM in many ways. Kind of a bit technical, kind of a bit bright, kind of a bit, good with the transient speed resolution itself, but not so much being warm. You can click on the link in the description below and have a look at this screen here. A respectable 59 out of 100. It is in fact an improvement of 2 points from the previous point scored by the original Delci. If you ever feel that the original Delci was lacking in resolution, was lacking in transient speed, was lacking a bit of brightness in the upper frequency, then definitely I would say that go for this. But then again, honestly, if you already love the original sound signature of Delci, then you might want to just look somewhere else, because this is pretty much similar to the original Delci, especially if you use the orange nozzle.